Hey everyone, this is Rashmi from Designhill, your host for the day. I hope you and your families are doing well and staying safe in these difficult times. I would like to welcome you to this wonderful workshop with Kristian Downer, wherein we are going to discuss about Facebook advertising for businesses. Today's event is brought to you by Designhill, which is the world's leading creative marketplace that caters to the creative needs of businesses and individuals alike who can source high quality designs and buy unique products created by independent artists. Let me quickly introduce our speaker and guest for today. We have Kristian Downer. He has been running Dow Social, which is a social media training and support company in UK from the last 7 years. His goal is to help businesses understand the role of social media and the role it can play in their marketing and give them the strategy, plan, and knowledge to make that happen. Thank you so much, Kristian, for joining us for this workshop and taking out the time. Would you like to say a quick hi to the audience?
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone. It's great to see everyone putting in the comments. I'd love for you to keep doing that. Say hello, tell us what you do, because that'll help me when I'm doing the training. Use some examples from what I see as well.
Great. So before we start this whole workshop, guys, let's quickly look at what Designhill is all about, and then we'll begin with the session.
Need to get your parents off your back? Head to the world's #1 creative marketplace, Designhill.
When I started my photography business, I needed something that said this was more than just a hobby. It's not a hobby, Mom. That's why I went to Designhill and got an amazing logo super fast at a price I could afford. The process was easy using Designhill's logo maker. Just enter the name of your business, then pick out a number of designs that inspire you. I'll pick this one and that one looks cute. Then pick your colors or let the system decide. Add some more info like a slogan, the industry your business is in, and your budget. The logo maker, using machine learning and artificial intelligence, will design thousands of logo variants that you can choose from and adapt. In fact, I was able to get everything from business cards to t-shirt design and complete social media kit, all with the click of a button. With that, I'm all set. Now everyone I meet knows I'm a legit photographer. Even my mom. It's real. That's decaf.
Let the world know it's real and build your brand with Designhill. Looking to get your boss to remember your name? Head to the world's #1 creative marketplace, Designhill.
When my company promoted me to head up our latest real estate development project, I was excited, then anxious, then petrified. How was I going to hire the team, get the designs completed, and design beautiful presentation materials on our lean budget while impressing my bosses, some of whom are still learning my name?
Good job, Mitch.
My name's Lawrence. That's why I went to Designhill and got the design help I needed that fit within my company's brand guidelines. The process was simple. Designhill's design contest ensured I'd get a ton of results I'd love. Start by picking a number of designs that inspire you. This one's good, and that one. This one speaks to me. Then share some information about the project. Lastly, pick a package that fits your budget. Do you just want a logo, or do you want it all? Then, boom. I got more than 60 custom design options to choose from, as well as all the other graphic design assets I wanted. And it's all backed by Designhill's 100% money-back guarantee. If I don't find a design I like, I get my money back. You can't lose. Now I have what I need to make a splash at my meetings, with everything from business cards, pamphlets, posters, and more. It's real.
Let the world know it's real and build your brand with Designhill.
All right, that was about Designhill, and now we are all set to start the session. Just a quick thing, guys. We will take questions in the last 15 minutes of the session, and in fact, even before that, if we have a lot of questions in the questions tab. So, if you have questions, do not forget to put them there in the question section, and do not put them in the chat section because it can get lost between the conversation. So, Kristian, with that, we are all set, and it's over to you now.
Yeah, hi everyone, and once again, thanks to Designhill for having me. Today we're going to talk about how you can get started with Facebook ads. So Before we get started, a little bit more building on what's been said already about me. So I started my social media business in 2013. Now I can really identify with the lady in that first video because my parents still don't know what I do, and they still keep asking me when I'm going to get a real job. So I can very much understand where she's coming from in that one. So yeah, I am a Facebook accredited trainer as part of their She Means Business campaign here in the UK, which means we get training direct from Facebook. Now, for those of you a little bit confused, I'm one of only 2 male trainers out of the 26 that they have. But our role essentially is to go out and help female founders to use social media effectively, particularly Facebook and Instagram, to grow their brand, grow their business, and to succeed with their businesses. So we've actually been running Facebook ads, I can't even count for how long now, but at the moment I was so happy to see a florist in the comments there, because one of the things we've been working on in the last couple of months is some campaigns for some florists. But we work with companies from e-commerce, and lots of companies that sell services to the general public, as well as some that sell to other businesses such as business coaches. So really wide range of experience and just knowledge of what it takes to be, how daunting it can be to get started, and how to guide you through that process. So what I'm going to talk about in our time together today is going to be the strategy and objectives you should have when using Facebook, how to define your target audience, matching the right tactics to the strategies, and then what I consider to be a good anatomy of a Facebook ad to get started. And then we will briefly talk about some of the more detailed targeting that you can do, and how you can really enhance and get better return on your investments. So you have to forgive me if you hear some noise in the background. Unfortunately, in the UK, so one, it's always raining. It definitely is raining outside right now. But because it's a little bit warmer, we're getting some thunderstorms in the background. So if you hear any loud noises, unfortunately, that'll just be the weather, just to make you aware. So when we're looking at Facebook, traditionally, to start with, everyone was talking about organic Facebook, so what you don't have to pay for, posting on your page and getting it going viral. And that's become harder and harder as Facebook want they want to improve the quality of the people that are seeing your stuff, and and so that when your feed isn't full of junk. And also they want to focus more on people and the groups and communities and those stories. They want it to be a place to tell stories rather than necessarily promote, although Facebook ads obviously gives you that opportunity to do both. So what works on Facebook, if you can build groups and communities of people with shared interests around what you do, stories and lives, so telling your story on Facebook stories, Instagram stories, or Facebook lives. With the groups and communities, that can also be being part of one of those communities, being a trusted member of those. And then to make sure you get the right message to the right person with the right call to action, Facebook ads. Those are the 3 things we see working on Facebook right now. So Facebook ads for us are an ever-evolving but cost-effective way of getting attention. The key is turning that intention into the right kind of action. Like any kind of advertising or marketing, if you don't do it well, it can feel very expensive. I know people, when we have clients, they go, we don't do Facebook ads because they're very expensive, and we know they're in an industry where we know that they can work really well. Generally, it will be because they're implementing them poorly. And after all, Facebook is a business. If you offer them money to run adverts, they're going to take that money. Conversely, the better your adverts, the more targeted they are, and the better they run, actually, the cheaper they are to be delivered, and the more effective they are as an investment. Because when it comes to Facebook ad, we have this dynamic where you have 3 user groups. So you have the Facebook user that, if they were honest, doesn't really want to see any adverts, but will tolerate them because they get to use the service for free. There's no charge. They're essentially, I always say to people, if you're on Facebook, you are part of the product and the way that Facebook makes money, because they make their money by selling that advertising. So you've got your users who want to see, if they're going to see ads, want them to be relevant, interesting, and honest. Then you've got the advertiser who wants to reach the right people for the least amount of money and with the most effective return on their investment. And then you've got Facebook, who obviously wants its users to be happy, but it also wants its advertisers to be happy. So it's trying to balance the two. And the way they do that is, as I said, is they reward ads that are highly targeted and have a clear message and a clear call to action, and follow their very quite strict policies at times to make sure they're fair and non-discriminatory. So those are, an example of that would be that during the current crisis, you can't really run ads around things like personal protective equipment, PPE, masks, and so on Facebook, because they're worried about the impact that would have of people trying to take advantage of people. You also can't run ads for things like cryptocurrency or things like CBD oil. Now, I know some people say that there are legitimate parts of all of that, but I think Facebook has taken a blanket decision not to allow those ads as part of a kind of a way of protecting its platform and making sure that the users are happy and there's not too much controversy. So when we're looking at our social media in general, there are 3 key things we want to be doing. Our objectives are possibly going to be with our social. So we want to build our brand and our visibility. We want people to know who we are, and we want them to trust that and know what we do. We want to be building relationships and trust so that those people are more likely to buy. And then ultimately, every business, our goal is to generate sales and leads. So we want people coming out of the bottom there. So you'll see there, it's not quite a pyramid, but it's very similar in that sales funnel that you might see when you're looking at marketing strategy. So if we're trying to set our objectives, for me, we need to be thinking, well, how does what we can do on social relate to our bottom line? So some of these things are going to be quite easy to measure. People going to our website, people buying our products, people downloading a prospectus or a lead magnet, an ebook or something like that, which allows us to put them into our email marketing or our other networking or our other marketing channels. It could be the number of people that are coming to our showroom, our restaurant, our redeeming coupons, that kind of thing that are related to what we're doing. And then on a slightly similar note, the number of likes and followers that we're getting and the engagement we're getting. But again, I always see followers and likes as a vanity metric. We don't tell our clients to focus on those. We say, well, if we're doing our content right, if we're running good ads, then likes and so on, they should come automatically. It's kind of a byproduct of that as we build our reputation. And of course, we're looking for sales inquiries. And then you've got the things that you can't measure, which are, how do you measure that you've enhanced your reputation or people trust you more? It can be much harder to do. Now, an interesting one for bigger brands as well can be on their Facebook objectives is how many customer service issues they're able to resolve. And that's across social, all social media. So you think of big brands, when people are unhappy, they don't tend to ring in anymore or visit and complain. They'll go on Facebook or Twitter and they'll make their feelings very unclear. As someone who, has been waiting for refunds from air flights and so on, I can see this every day when I'm, when you go on those companies' web social media, you can see people, using those places to raise their concerns rather than traditional methods. So a good, measure of success can be how many of those that you're actually fixing, and the reputation you're rebuilding for the business. So when we're in Facebook's ad management platform, Facebook actually shows us the objectives, and this, it asks us to pick one. So what are you trying to achieve? It's the first question it asks. So, again, from that sales funnel, awareness, consideration, through down to conversion, the simple ones are going to be things like brand awareness. So this one is basically, they show your advert, and then it's how many people remember seeing your advert after a certain number of days. And that's basically, it helps you build that brand awareness. It could be that you just want to reach as many people as possible with your offer. And, so say you were a local restaurant or something like that, you really want as many people as possible to see what you're doing. You might choose that reach objective. Then, you've got things generally where consideration, where they're either the first step in the sales funnel, such as filling out a lead form or a message, or they're things that, show that they're taking at least some kind of interest in your product, service, or what you've got to say. So, for example, traffic basically means visits to your website. So, and then engagement is the people like, commenting, and sharing your content. Could be app installs is self-explanatory. If they install your app, could be, video views. How many, number of people are viewing the video that you've put up there. Now, you might choose video views, engagement, or traffic as your objective, because the idea is that you're trying to get people to raise their hands and show that they're interested, so that you can retarget them. So, for example, if I was wanting to run a course on a paid course on Facebook ads, what I might do is do a video where I talk through a tip or a trick on how to do that, and then run an advert to that video. And then anyone who watches, say, more than 30 seconds of that, I know must have at least some interest in Facebook ads. Otherwise, why would they have watched my video for 30 seconds? So now I've got an idea that they're interested, and I can use one of the Facebook audiences that will come to retarget those people, and put them onto the next stage of our sales process, which might be another piece in the consideration, like downloading an ebook or one of those things we talked about earlier. It could be we're sending them straight to a place to buy the product or service, or to take that next step in that sales funnel. So for more direct approaches, lead generation, people literally, they want it could be get quote, they fill out that information with their name, their phone number, their general information, maybe answer a couple of questions, and then a member of your sales team can give them a call back and take them through the process. Now, for a lot of our clients, we find that the messaging objective is really, really valuable as something to do. So, for example, with our landscape gardening clients, with our clients that do like home blinds, and even our florists, they use the messaging objective because people like to feel like they're speaking to a human. So they have that back and forth conversation. We're able to qualify them a little bit, and then we're able to take them to the next step. But when you're using that lead generation or messages objective, it's important to note that there's always going to be a next step, normally a human step in that process, that's going to, where you're going to have to, convert that. So it generally works best if you've got a higher value object, or product or service, than if you're trying to sell something for 20 or 30 pounds or rupees or dollars, depending on where you are in the world. And then you've got your conversions, which if your e-commerce is, literally measuring how many people are converted. You can also use that conversions objective around downloading those ebooks by using the Facebook Pixel. And then the really interesting one for the e-commerce people are the catalog sales, where you can literally go, if someone's looked at this item, an item in there, and they've added it to their basket, but they haven't bought. Well, I want to, in the last day, I want to show them an advert for that specific product, giving them a 5% discount if they buy that product today, or some kind of incentive. So rather than them just losing them, we have an opportunity to retarget them. So when we work with our e-commerce clients, we find that most of the value in our Facebook ads is actually retargeting people that have come to the website from a number of different places, and retargeting them so that they end up completing their purchase and buying that product or service. So an example of how we might apply this to different types of business. So it might be that if we're trying to get people to, one objective we haven't mentioned is if you're running an event and you're using the Facebook events tool, it might be that, you might use something like Eventbrite or one of the other providers out there that integrates, and you actually, the number of people that sign up to your seminar or your webinar is your measure of success. Because if you can get people to come to a webinar, then you've got their details, and also you get to show your knowledge, build that reputation, build that trust, and hopefully that will lead to a sale down the line. It could be that you're looking for the messages received. Now, a lot of these are property related, as it just happened that we obviously have property on the mind when we were coming up with examples, but the messages received, I mentioned the landscape gardening company. Literally, we asked them, where they are, what they're looking for. We asked them a few questions, and then if it looks like they're still interested, we then ask for a phone number, and we book them in for an appointment, and one of their team goes and visits and does that. Same with the lead form. You could use the same approach there. The other way could be they fill that out, that you put them into your email marketing platform as well. But generally, we do that, where we're going to give them an action like a phone call or some kind of follow-up. So, really useful tool for those. For reach and awareness, generally it tends to be brand building. But if we've got, as I said, a restaurant or something that's quite local, with Facebook, the audience is great. You can put a pin in the map and say, I want to target anyone within 1 or 2 or 50 kilometers of that area. And you can even be really selective in those areas, and you can run specific ads and reach as many people as possible within those, that driving distance or that travel distance to your venue. Again, page engagement is to kind of build brand, build that trust, show that you have something that's worthwhile. We talked about with video views already how you can build a retargeting audience based on what you're doing and how it a starting point to bring people through your sales funnel. And then with e-commerce, you're talking website traffic, and ultimately our objective is we want people to be making purchases. So when it comes to getting started with Facebook ads, knowing your objective and your target audience are the 2 key things. So when we're looking at our audience, we don't just want to be thinking about the demographics, how old they are, where they are, what they do. We're also thinking about, what are their aspirations, and particularly within what we do, what's the pain, what's the problem they're trying to solve? What's the problem we can solve for them? So it could be, if people in the chat just tell us what they do, we can start, building this out a little bit together and make this a little bit more interactive. So tell us what you do, and rather than just tell me what you do, tell me why people buy from you. What pain are you solving for them? So for me, people buy from us because we can help them use Facebook ads effectively. Generally, the pain is they've tried to do it themselves and it hasn't worked, or they're being told that they need to use Facebook ads, but they just don't know where to start. So we really focus in on that. If we run any Facebook ads targeting those people, if it's for gardens, it could be just wanting to enjoy that space. It would be really understanding who they are, where they're located. And the more you understand this, the easier it is to write effective adverts. And you have to remember that nobody cares about your business. You have to make them. Nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, you know what? I like Kristian. I really want to give Kristian some of my money. Kristian deserves my money. No, they don't. They don't think I want to hire a social media expert. They don't think I want to, an accountant or I want to pay someone to do their garden or to the service. The pain or the need for that service has to rise to enough that they're willing to pay money for it. So that's an important thing to consider when we're thinking about our target audience. Is we want to make sure our advert is for them and is focused in on their pain, because if we're not speaking to them, we're not speaking to anybody at all. Okay, so some examples here. Again, this was around property, but it was people, that are financially distressed, own a house, and are looking for a sale because they can't pay their mortgage. Really nice, easy to understand pain point. If anyone else has got some businesses, I can throw some out in there. Please do put them in the chat. It could be that you're selling. Yes, so I mentioned about that I work with Blinds company. When we're doing this, it's people that have just moved home and don't want their neighbours looking through their windows and seeing what they're up to in the evening. They want some privacy. So we really focus in on that. 1, that they've just moved home, that's the trigger. And 2, that they're worried about their privacy and security. And really understanding and knowing the pain that you solve. So again, I'd love to see some people put in the chat, what they do and what they think the pain is that they solve for people. Okay, so the next piece we're going to speak about is building on. Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry to cut you off in between. I see a lot of questions in the question section, and before we start the next segment, let's quickly jump on the question section to see what people are asking, and then we can jump back to the session. Would that be okay?
Yeah, sure. So
all right. So let me ask you the first question. I can't resist. You mentioned in your first slide that the boost button is not your friend. So can you, that sentence is still going on in my head. That why did you, write that line? So can you explain a bit about it? Why boost doesn't help much?
Yeah, of course. The reason that the boost button isn't your friend. Is because even Facebook, will have said that, it's designed to be a lightweight tool to make it easy for people to spend money on advertising. But what it does is it doesn't have all of the targeting tools, the objectives, and the kind of the guidance in running the advert and the setup that mean you're going to be more effective. So so to be honest, sometimes I do click the blue button, but it's because I know what I want to achieve, and I know that I can get it out of doing that. So if you're using Facebook for the ads for the first time, generally you're going to find them to be more expensive using the boost button, and you're unlikely to get the level of results that you could by using the ads manager, which is where your Facebook ads sit. So it brings me on to another point. So when you're doing Facebook ads, generally we recommend you set up what's called a business manager account. Now this is a container, if you like, for your business and your home of your business. From an advertising perspective, it makes it easier to control who can see your ads, set your billing up, see your ads manager, and set up things like the pixel and the audiences that we've already talked about. And then you have the ads manager, which is where you can create and generate the ads. And if we have enough time at the end, we'll do some live demonstration and questions on that as well.
All right. I see one more question. It's in the question section, and this particular question has got 10 upvotes. It's asked by Sanya, and she want to know that what sort of creatives work well in attaining good reach and good reach with Facebook ads.
Okay, so when it comes to when you're creating content, you always need to think about this. Most people are using Facebook using their mobile phone, and so they spend their day. I think the last time I saw a stat on it is they scroll the length, scrolling through their phone, they scroll the same height as if from the bottom of the Eiffel Tower to the top. So you need to make sure that you're capturing their attention with that. If you're talking about software and sites to create good ads, within Facebook, you have the Facebook publishing tools, which are well worth looking at, and the Creator Studio is a really good piece of software. Sometimes when we're dealing with clients, we want to show them how things are going to look. We've used a piece of software called AdParlor before. That's ADPARLOR. Interesting piece of software to do that. And then a really interesting thing about Facebook when you use the Ads Manager is you can actually get access to Shutterstock stock images as part of your advertisement with Facebook. So if you're struggling for images and what you're doing, you can actually use stock images without having to go out and buy them within your Facebook ad, which you can't do when you use the boost button. You can only get that within that Ads Manager functionality.
All right, let's take this one more question and then we'll jump back to the session again. And I think this question is very critical when it comes to, Facebook marketing. The question is, what are the best practices to reduce ad cost on Facebook ads?
Okay, so as I said before, if you imagine you've got these three groups of people that, the stakeholders in this ad process, you've got the user, you've got Facebook, and you've got you. So the best way to reduce your ad cost is to make your ads as well targeted and as appealing as possible to your target audience. So if you hit the right target audience, then and Facebook does rank this on your ads. You can see that in there. It used to be a lot simpler. They used to give you a relevancy score between 1 and 10. And basically, if you scored a 1 on your advert, once it had been shown to a few people, then your ad would probably not be working and be very expensive. And if it was a 10, you would probably be getting the cheapest possible and best returns that you could get. Now they've changed that a little bit, and they now measure it for engagement and conversion and kind of readability and style. But the same thing applies. The more in tune to your advert or to your audience you are, the clearer your advert is, and the better the creative, the lower your cost is going to be. So there's no kind of silver bullet, but by using good creative, by really speaking to that audience, and we'll talk to some of that later in the presentation, you're going to be able to keep your costs as low as possible. And it's also going to be about testing. The best way to, very rarely will we come up with one Facebook ad for one client and just let it run. We'll create maybe, just even for the simplest client, we'll create 10 adverts, and then we'll test different types of image, we'll test different types of text, we'll test different audiences, different objective. Is it lead forms? Is it messages? Is it traffic? And we'll test all these different things. For some clients, we've created for one campaign maybe 100 adverts, because we want to test and see which one's going to be the most effective. And then the ones that don't work or are expensive, we throw away, and the ones that do work, we gently increase the budgets and they rise to the top.
Wonderful. So guys, that was the few questions we took from the questions tab. If you have more questions, do not forget to put them there, and we will definitely take it up. Before we go ahead, before we move ahead, I hope that you all are enjoying this session, and I would like to give a quick shout out to Designhill for organizing this event. Let's take a quick break and keep this interesting conversation going on with Kristian. Stay tuned, and we will be right back to hear again from Kristian.
I've always been creative and always been an artist. As a young girl, I used to paint rocks, and I used to sell them for a quarter on the street. And I just fell in love with it. It just grew into a passion of mine. I started looking on the web, and I came across Designhill, and they had a design contest to design a logo, and I entered it, and I won. And I was like, oh, this is really great. I can pick and choose what type of logos or design projects I want to work on. And it allows me to be creative, keep my hands, with my tools and working. So it's kind of nice. It's really easy to use. You can scroll through the projects, and there's sections that you could go by. It's really easy. There's a few clients who have come back to use the one-on-one projects. There's one client in particular, she owns a vintage shop, and I designed her logo, and she came back. She needed a design for a flyer, and she really liked the illustrations that I did for her, so she came back a couple of times with projects. I would recommend it, especially if you're a designer that's starting out and you want to learn from other designers, seasoned designers. It's a place to keep in the game and keep using your tools. It makes me feel great, and it kind of confirms that I should be doing this. And I love to see logos that I've designed out, and proud of that. And I think that the clients are so happy that their logo represents what they do and makes them look good. It's a collaboration. It's good for me, and it's definitely good for them.
Clarematics is a full-service video agency based around video production. We created a brand that fit our identity at the time, but as we've evolved as a company, we found that original brand didn't quite fit our aspirations anymore. Finding a partner to rebrand your entire company takes a lot of time and effort. Finding Designhill was an incredible lifeline. Designhill offers a money-back guarantee. If we don't like any of the designs, we get all of our money back. The stuff that we ended up with were well beyond what we had been seeing on other creative services platforms. After creating a simple design brief by answering some questions created by Designhill, we posted, and within a few days, we had over 250 entries. Designhill's platform made it easy to communicate with all the potential designers. Eventually, we picked a winner. In addition to a logo, our designer also created a letterhead, business cards, and banners for all of our social media platforms. With Designhill's help, we now have a brand that meets our aspirations. We're ready for the future and everything that it's here to bring.
All right, we are back now. Kristian, over to you. Kristian, we can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
There we go. Can everyone hear and see me okay now?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So the lady in that first video again raised an interesting point. So she talks about winning a client and then, getting one piece of business and then getting another piece and another piece. So that the value of her business with that client was quite, over time was much larger. And I think when we're measuring our Facebook ad success, I think that's an important thing to consider is, often we want to think of the whole relationship with a client rather than just always sold them one thing today. So what tends to work quite well on Facebook is if you could, or in marketing generally, you can sell them one small thing, that you do, and then expand that out, and and once you've kind of captured their attention, sell them, upsell them other products and build that relationship. So moving on to the types of Facebook audience. So there are 3 different types of audience on Facebook. You have what's called a saved audience. So this is where you use Facebook's data, so the demographics, the age, maybe the targeted interest that they have. And this is all data from, I think, Facebook, last time I checked, was over 150,000 potential data points they might have on you. So Facebook, when you're using it, is constantly picking up information and using that. And basically, they will show your advert based on that to people that they think will be interested based on your targeting, your creative that you've done, and the ad that you write. So the custom audience is basically once you've run an advert or if you've got a database of existing customers, it's information based on behavior. So people that have, you can create a custom audience from people that visit your website, from people that have viewed a video, people that have engaged with your page, people that have, you can upload your customer list, so you can run adverts to people that have already bought from you in the past. And once you've done that, you can then create from, say, that customer list, you can say to Facebook essentially, okay, here's a list of my customers, create an audience of people that I can run adverts to that are using all the information you have, look like or are similar to the people that have already bought from us in the past. And that's called a lookalike audience. And that's an incredibly powerful tool, those custom audience lookalike audiences, to retarget, refocus, and reach exactly the people that you're trying to target. So again, if we're looking at that custom audience, the different ways that you get sources of data for these audiences, you have the website traffic, you have people who've used, if you've got an app, people, the way they've used your app, offline activity, if you've logged that and uploaded that into Facebook. I mentioned the customer list, activity on your Instagram account, whether they've attended events that you're running on Facebook, whether, how they've interacted with your Facebook page, whether they filled out a form, or as I said, watched the video, or they've bought something from the Facebook shopping experience. So when we're creating our ads, we've got that audience, but when we're setting up, I mentioned how we want to have business manager, but we also want to make sure we've got the Facebook pixel installed, which is a piece of code added to your website that tracks the visits. Be aware that particularly in the EU, you're going to need a cookie notice, and make sure that you're fully, dare I say, GDPR compliant, or whatever the data regulations are in your country compliant around collecting this information. And this is important because, as I said, it allows you to build custom audiences around those people that visit your website or specific pages on your website, and allows you to retarget them. Okay, so the process when we run adverts. Now I know this looks quite complicated, but it's relatively simple. So essentially, step 1 is we do that. We identify our audience. We set up our business manager. We do the technicals. We do the pixel. We create a target audience avatar. So we kind of map out who we think our target audience is. And from that, we create our saved audience, as we talked about. Then we either run a ad to a piece of content, so a video or a blog, to then retarget them, or we can run directly to an objective such as a messaging or lead generation tool. But then once we've done that, our third step is we then create our custom audience of the people that viewed that video or that blog, and then we create, we have that, and then we also create a lookalike audience for those people as well. And then we'll run more targeted, more sales-driven adverts to those people that have shown that have either visited our website or look like the people that have visited our website. Someone's asked if the slides will be available. I'm happy to share them with the Designhill team and then distribute them. Or I did put a thing up in the chat earlier. If you check with me on LinkedIn, remind me. I'm happy to send those over to you as well. Whatever works best for Designhill. Okay, and then final step with all of this is, we always want to be split testing different types of creative, different audiences, different text, and then reviewing and refining to make sure that we're getting the best return on investment as possible from our adverts. Now, for some people, with some businesses, the Facebook ad process is going to be very simple. Some of our clients, we just run 1 or 2 adverts. It's quite simple. They generate lots of opportunity there. But others, we have to do really detailed retargeting and build up the audience because it's maybe a more complicated product or a longer sales funnel. We need to have a more robust and targeted process. So we've talked about the ad objectives here, just building into the audience. So this is if we were creating a saved audience. These are the fields that we would be able to use. So we'd be able to use location, age, gender, more detailed targeting. However, when we run adverts, we don't tend to use this detailed targeting. We tend to use a process I'll use later, which is using the language and the creative to target people and let Facebook's algorithm self-select rather than use the detailed targeting option. So when we're running our ads, essentially we've got a few different pieces. We've got the text that goes above the image, and we believe should call out your audience, make it clear who you're targeting, explain the problem they have and the solution that your content offers. This is we're doing direct response. And then it should end with a call to action. The creative is the image. Now this is important. You never want to have more than 20% text in the image, if any at all, because your ad will perform worse on Facebook if it has more than 20% text, because Facebook's belief is that, as far as I'm aware, is that takes away from the core message. It's harder for them to review, and it also graphically doesn't look as good if you've got an image with lots of text crammed into it. The headline, so you'll see that next to the call to action button is a summary of what the ad says, and so on the right here you can see that we would call out our audience, explain the problem and solution, and then we'd have a call to action. If someone wants to put what they do in here, I will try and write an advert on the fly for them of how I might approach it. Someone wants to put what they do and what they're looking to sell and who they will be selling that to. I can have a crack at that. So I think I have some examples on here. So again, we have a florist. We've called out who we're targeting or what we're doing, how it works. So it's people that have, friends who've got birthdays coming up. We made it really clear. It's a send message objective on here as well. And then we've got one for a company that does artificial grass. Same kind of idea, nice, simple, explains the problem. Get a beautiful garden without the fuss, explaining the thing we solve, and then nice, clear call to action of what they can do. So, anyone want to put in the chat or in the questions what they do, so we can see how that works with what they do. As I said, I've shown an example for a florist. I know we had someone in there as well. It doesn't look like we're going to get anyone, so maybe if someone's brave at the end, we can do that. But that's actually the perfectly to time. I'm at the end of the presentation. So if you want to stay in contact, you can find me on LinkedIn, Kristian Downer, or you can find us on Facebook, Dow Social Marketing Training. Okay, over to the Designhill team.
All right. So okay. So let's take a quick look in the questions. Kristian, I see a lot of questions there. So let me maximize the screen. All right. So okay. So we have this question by Krishna, and it has got 11 upvotes. Looks like a lot of people want to know the answer of this question. And the question is there any software or website that could help us create a good ad or ad content?
Yeah, so I think this is the same question maybe that we answered in the break, but I think it's a point that's worth repeating. So yeah, you've got Facebook's Creator Studio. I mentioned Ad Parlor. You know, you can use Facebook stock images to create good good stuff there. Obviously, you've got people at Designhill, the designers on Designhill, who can design you a good creative to go with the ad that you're doing. There's no simple kind of software that I recommend that's going to kind of do this for you or solve that problem. But yeah, you want to be looking at those softwares that we've just mentioned. That'd certainly be a good help. I know there are other softwares in the market, but we tend to use the approach that we've talked about there.
Okay, and Kristian, one question that I have in my list, and that came from one of the registrant of the event. And so we talked about, target audience, deciding a good target audience for an effective Facebook ads, right? So a lot of people struggle with deciding that how do we know that which is the right target audience for us, and then they make mistake in deciding the right target audience, and of course that then Facebook ads doesn't help much for them. So how do people know the right target audience they can cater to or they can target on Facebook?
So I think the key is going to be research and testing. So so again, let's see if there's any examples in the chat we can pull. So yeah, when we're looking at our target audience, need to be thinking. When I say target audience, I mean the pain that we solve as much as I mean the group of people. So need to be thinking, well, what's the pain that we solve in our business? So so Tom's actually put in the questions. He's charity helping truck drivers and families at Christmas called Truckers Christmas Group. So if you're running adverts for a charity, then actually your pain you're solving is making people feel better. You're almost making them, it's by helping out, they feel that they're supporting people that maybe are local to them or share their values. So if I was going to run an advert for a local charity helping truck drivers and their families, it might be support local truck drivers, help us raise the funds and our call to action might be message us to talk about volunteering, but you then want to talk about what the impact's going to be. So for the truck driver might be, well, by volunteering, you can help us organise a food drive, which will allow us to make sure that all the truckers get Christmas meal. I don't know too much about the charity, so I'm kind of guessing, but that might be a way to approach that, and just think about those people. It might be friends of truck drivers, or talking about a little bit about that problem and why that issue exists as well. So that would be target audience. Think about that pain that you're solving, and make sure you're making that really, really clear to people. And people will find you if you focus in on that pain. As I said, we don't use that detailed targeting a great deal. We tend to use that pain point and really focus in on that.
Okay, and then I have this another question in my list, and I think this question will sort of sum up, give answer to some of the questions that I see on the questions tab, and I think it will also sum up some of the points that we have already covered during the session. So Kristian, please throw some light on the top mistakes or that people are making while creating an ad on Facebook, and that they should absolutely avoid.
So mistakes would be waffling, not making it clear what they're trying to say, having so lots of text in not broken up into different paragraphs, not having a clear call to action, or almost worse, having more than one call to action. So saying in your advert, call me, message me, visit my website. It's like, I always joke, on social media, you need to treat people like they're, or most sales and marketing, treat people like they're 5. Give them one clear instruction on what to do. Because if you tell a a young child, well, you need to do this, and then you need to do this, and then you need to do this. They might remember to do the first thing, but by the time you get to the third or fourth, they've got lost or they've given up, and they're doing something else. So yeah, common mistakes are going to be not having that clear target audience, not being clear in what you're doing and waffling, and having having a creative which doesn't capture attention in the scroll, doesn't tell people what you're talking about. So although we mentioned Facebook has stock imagery, you don't necessarily want to just have 2 people in an office as your kind of looks very generic, very boring as your stock image. It's just going to get lost, and they tend to be the key. Oh, and pressing, as we mentioned, that blue boost button, they tend to be the mistakes we see the most common.
All right. So, Kristian, I see this question by Lex Mint in the question section. Although we have covered the same question in some bits and pieces, but I think he needs a bit more clarity on the audience part. So he says that how does Facebook audience differentiate from other social media like Instagram and Twitter? Does Facebook present a more powerful platform than others?
So the simple answer is it depends on your business. So this is again why we think about our target audience first and foremost. Is we need to. The first question is going to have to be: do we think our target audience is going to be active on Facebook? And it's also important to realize to remember that Facebook own Instagram, and you can actually run Instagram adverts using the Ads Manager. I recommend if you're just going to do Instagram ads, you use Instagram's platform, but you can actually use the same data between Instagram and Facebook. They intertwined, and that's very powerful. Tend to find Instagram, the average user of Facebook is is now sort of between 30 and 65 rather than younger, and that's and Instagram has a slightly younger audience, but is trending upwards. In the longer term, you've got things like TikTok and all these other platforms that are very much the early phase of their growth and their development, but maybe trend slightly younger and don't have the same ads platform and power. I mean, we love Facebook ads because of the targeting we can do to reach people, and simply the pure scale of adoptability. In the UK, more than half the population has a Facebook account, which means that your chances that whatever you're selling, that your target audience is going to be on Facebook, the chances are quite high. The platform that Lex doesn't mention, of course, being LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a more expensive advertising platform, but their targeting is incredible. You can target people that work for businesses of a certain size and in a certain area and of a certain job title. So if you're selling business to business, I think the trend we're going to see in the next 6 months to 2 years is going to be LinkedIn's advertising platform becoming more powerful, and providing another option for those that are looking to promote their businesses. But Facebook is such a powerful platform, in combination with Instagram even more so. How does it compare to Twitter? We don't really use Twitter for a great deal of ads. I think the kind of companies that use Twitter would be brands, just to keep their brand up there. But when we're running ads for small businesses, we tend to want to be able to see an action, and we want to make sure we're hitting the right people, and Facebook allows us to do that.
Wonderful. So, everyone, we have very limited time with us, and we will take the last question for today. And I see this question by Naomi, and I think again it's related to sales. So let's take this question. Again, we have covered some part of it, but then it would be great if Kristian can share again some light on it. And the question is how to convert ads to sales. So of course, it includes everything from targeting and choosing conversion as an objective, but yeah, please share some top tips, your secrets of how do you create ads that converts to sales.
Yes, I'm always going to come back to my kind of my standard answer, which is it depends on what your target audience is, what you're selling. But if we're going to look at our sales process. So a lot of our clients know that if they can get on the phone or in the house of a customer, they're going to convert sales. So therefore, they know their objective is to get to the person's house and sit down. So we use Facebook to make sure we get messaging conversations or leads where we can ring them up and arrange to come visit them. If we're looking at an e-commerce website, then one, we want to be driving traffic to the right page on our website. But the key part is to make sure we have a dynamic retargeting campaign to make sure that if someone adds a product to their basket, they get a message reminding them. We've all seen those adverts. We go on a website and then we go somewhere else and we see that advert. That is so important for e-commerce to make sure that we're retargeting people that have taken an action. And that's the same across anywhere. What we're trying to do is make sure that, we can't target everybody and we can't reach everybody. We want to make sure that when we reach people, we don't let them go. Facebook retargeting and Facebook ads in general are a great way to make sure that people don't forget you and that you don't disappear. You want a little bit, almost a stalker. Once you know where they are, don't want to let them go.
Wonderful. So that was the last question of the session. And with that, I would like to thank Kristian for taking out your time and joining us in this wonderful workshop. It was a pleasure having you, Kristian. Before we let you go, would you like to say, and like the last thing that you would like to say to the audience? We still have 43 live attendees over here.
No, I just want to say thank you all for coming. I know obviously in an hour it's difficult to cover all of the questions we could possibly have around Facebook, but if you have any questions, please feel free, one, to keep coming to the great content that Designhill are putting out there. But, make sure you connect with me on LinkedIn. You can ask me questions there or come to our Facebook page, Down Social Marketing Training, and ask those questions. I'll be available to do that after the session.
Wonderful. So with that, we come to the end of the session. It was indeed a value-packed session wherein we touched upon Facebook pixel, targeting, creating audience, and a lot more. Again, I would like to thank Kristian for taking out the time and joining us for this workshop. You guys have been a lovely audience. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. But this is not where it ends. We have a lot more sessions planned for you guys. Go to designhill.com/events and you can find all the upcoming sessions over there. We have the next session on building communities for business growth. So if you have not registered yet, feel free to visit our event page and register for the upcoming events. Apart from that, you can always sign up for our event newsletter to stay tuned and stay updated about the new events that we come up with. And you can always go to our YouTube channel to see the past events that has happened, and all the recordings are there up on YouTube. So go there, subscribe to the channel, and also watch the previous recording. Last but not the least, all the business owners who are listening to this, and if you want to source high quality designs, visit designhill.com. With that, I would like to thank everyone for joining us. Take care and stay safe, guys. Thank you so much, Kristian, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.